Agitates.
It's okay.
All right. We're going to forego promos tonight.
Okay. So do so how so is it gonna be a
All right, we're live, everybody.
all right and oh we are live.
Woo!
Hello everybody. That this is Ninja Spence here on like another Sunday for basically our investigation check series at here at Team Bonus Act. And then who do I have with me at the virtual table tonight? Well, panel rather.
Oh, I guess I'm at the top. You got a Miro, you got a Hewitt.
And a NASA. A NASA does cosplay.
Alrighty then, and then that that today, then that tonight rather, we are going to be discussing. Discussing cryptids. And for those that don't know what cryptids are, just think of them as like your urban legend creatures, like your boogeyman, your that all of your Sasquatch, like Bigfoot, Loch Ness monster, that the flying spaghetti monster, stuff like that. That all of these
That's
things can be what?
that one's a religion. Flying Spaghetti Monster is not a cryptid. He has a devoted following faith with tax exempt status.
Okay, so I stand corrected on that one. So, but yeah, then
But the
that is
one-eyed,
what.
one-horned flying purple people eater is definitely a cryptid.
So yeah, so anything that is basically that mysterious encrypted that is, and then that we are just going to just start off with just that Miro on your topic for today.
All right, I'm skirting kind of the edge of the cryptid because I'm also delving into folklore just a little bit. Well, I guess most cryptids are still mostly connected to urban legends, which is modern folklore, but I'm looking at black dogs. Uh, they're something that I have interested me for a long time, and I have seen more than one in my lifetime that was, I'm pretty sure, was not just somebody's big ass dog in the neighborhood. So, origins of the black dogs, because I'm going to kind of treat this as uh, go over origins, where this concept might have come from, where the creature might have folklore wise might have developed, but I'm going to also give some examples and some other things that they connect to. Is that all right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Now,
Get after it.
the first thing about the black dog myth is um for the most part across the entire planet there is mythology and beliefs and sightings in overly large, extremely spooky black dogs. The ones I'm mostly going to be focusing on are going to be more of the European ones because one thing Europeans love to do is write about themselves. So there's a lot of records of the weird shit they saw. So most of the legends are actually mostly British, Gaelic, and Germanic. However, if you look throughout history, you got Graham, the dog that guards hell or is in hell in Norse mythology. You have Cerberus, depending on descriptions or paintings. It might be a large three-headed black dog. It might be a large Greek hound. It might be a dachshund with three heads as well. I've seen that one on the internet, and personally, that's one of my favorites now. Behold, I am the guardian of the gate of Hades. I want a tummy scritch and a
Bow,
snack
woo,
right
woo, woo,
now.
woo.
I will destroy your ankles and all the socks. Now, the thing is that some of the oldest stories written down in Northern Europe do end up involving one of the black dogs or a black dog, some type of large spectral otherworldly hound that flips someone and freaks someone the fuck out. So we're pretty sure that the sightings and stories of these predate writing by at least a millennia. This is one of the oldest fears that humans have. there is a chance this is a genetic fear or a genetic thing connected to our ancestry, which I couldn't find the scientific term for this. I've forgotten it. But one of my favorite things I've learned is that fears can be passed on genetically, and that's why almost every last one of us have Uncanny Valley. And why Disney animatronics can be either really cool or really freaky. Not as freaky as the ones at Six Flags that don't work right, so you get your Five Nights at Freddy fix while you're riding a mine train. Any case, there's also a possible connection to the fear or conflicts early humans had with wolves. And that if there was a large canid that we were not familiar with, we automatically have a uneasiness, a fear, and connect it to death. Because back in the day, we had two enemies, wolves and other humans. We still have other humans as enemies, but for the most part, wolves are no longer a problem. Unless you really do something stupid. Or the wolves do something really smart. So, that's probably part of the origin, is a long backlist of memories and fears of, those are wolves, we don't mess with them. Because I think NASA can confirm this. Wolves are always way bigger than you think they are.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Like, most of us have seen wolves in TV shows and in movies. Those are dogs. Those are dogs that mostly look like wolves. And yes, they are big. I am just under or just at 6 foot. A full-grown timber wolf's shoulders are at my hips. Because I think is it timber wolves or gray wolves that are the biggest?
Timbers are the
Timbers.
the larger.
Because I know that there is
Our Arctic wolves are the biggest.
Okay.
But they have to be to hunt caribou. So
I just know one time at a zoo, I went there and they had real wolves, and that thing was walking along on the same level I was, and its shoulders were about at hip level. And I was like, damn, that's big. And it's not like a Great Dane that's big and lanky. It's solid.
Yeah, no. Even coyotes are generally about German Shepherd size, which most people don't realize. They're not like foxes where they're small. Coyotes are fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure with origins and also get a confirmation from someone that's around animals more than me.
It's me.
There's a good chance that if the black dog is not some type of spectral or otherworldly cryptid, it is a genetic fear passed down through us by our ancestors to be afraid of the really big, not tame dogs. Like the thing that would literally eat us alive and not take note that we're screaming to stop, because it's just going to keep eating. Yeah. So that's the origins. Now, the common traits of black dogs around the world is they're generally either dark green, black, fuck off big dog. Like, size of a horse, big dog. Actual dire wolf proportions, big fucking dog with red glowing or yellow glowing eyes. Like, I've seen it, some say that they're like, oh, they're like the size of a newborn calf. I'm like, okay, so you're dealing with a mastiff. And then it's, oh, no, generally they're the size of a cow. And I'm like, yeah, fuck that. No. If there is a population of animals that big, humans are not getting to the top of the food chain, I guarantee you. But most of the ones, like when I start getting down, when I get down to the Baghest, and some of these ones I'm going to have to take a second to pronounce correctly, they're about the size of a quarter horse to the size of a honest full god war horse, like wargs. Now, they're always omens of death. They are connected to death in one manner or another. In some stories, they're bad luck, and we'll get to a couple that are an exception to that. But for the most part, if you see a black dog, you or somebody is going to die, or something really bad is going to happen to you. So the advice from several of the documents I read, from Wikipedia all the way to a translation from Middle English, says avoid at all costs. How do you deal with black dogs? Avoid them. Just don't. Just no. If you see one, sorry, bud. I'm closing my door because you saw that dog, and I don't need that. You bringing that to me. And more recent in the history, and I'm talking about in the last 1,000 years, so that's kind of weird to call that recent. But more recent in these myths, a lot of times these dogs are connected to the devil, hellhounds, and we'll see how that kind of happens through the description of a few of these, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on hellhounds at all, because I'll be honest, that bores me. So, yeah. If anybody out there is listening, you can take umbrage. Hellhounds bore me. They're a good thing to throw at people in D&D and to have as a literary minor villain. But other than that, don't be mean to the Doom puppies. Just avoid them. Now, the first of these black dogs I'm going to mention, and I'm hoping I pronounce this right, but the Kushi. The Kushi are the hounds of the High Shi. In other words, face sparkle dogs, because they can be green, blue, or black. And they're supposed to be that kind of opalescent. So, like, as they move, it's like watching, like, the sheen off of oil. There's a good chance that if you're dealing with the Seelie or the Unseelie, that you will end up dealing with a Kushi, because they are the hunting hounds of the high courts. So that would be bad if you're immortal and all of a sudden you see one, or in a couple cases, more than one of these dogs. Also, it's stated that if they bark 3 times, doom is going to come for you. Like, if you hear the first bark, run. If you hear the second bark, try to get inside. If you hear the third bark, we're going to close the door. You're outside. You're dead to us now, Steve. You belong to the dogs. A lot of times these are used, recently they've been used a lot in the Harry Dresden books, in the Dresden Files, because he is dealing with the Winter Court, and Mab has a bunch of these. And if not 100% into the Fae or believe in them, I know, just don't make them mad and try to not prove myself wrong. I would totally believe that the Queen of Air and Darkness has a large population of hunting hounds. Like, it would make sense. Now, very closely related to these are the Kunarn, spelled Cwnannwn, which I mentioned Amwin, or Aran, last time when I mentioned Arthur, because that was the Welsh afterlife. So these are the dogs from the Welsh otherworld, and they were sent out to hunt mortals. There is more than one mention throughout Welsh folklore, but one of the main ones and one of the first ones is mentioned in the Mabinogion, with the story of Kulach, spelled Culhwch. God damn you, Welsh. The language partly of my family that I will never learn to spell or speak because they don't put in vowels. Sorry. But when Kulach rode out and joined Arthur's court, he actually had a set of these dogs given to him by a family member who was in the other side. Now, what makes these puppers terrifying is they are usually at the head of the wild hunt, serving the same purpose as a foxing hound. They are supposed to rile up all the mortals, all the souls that are still there that did not join the hunt, so that they can be stirred out so that the Lords of Aden or the High Shi can then hunt you the same way that the nobility used to, go after hares and foxes. So, again, second dog used for hunting usually means you're going to die. However, Christians like to do things like with Beowulf and other stories and, insert a whole lot of their religion over the original text. So a lot of stories about these hounds where they weren't just stirring up anybody for the lords to hunt and track down. They were going after the bad people. So Christians made them into good ghost puppers. So the next one is one that any of us that have played D&D have heard the name, but the Barghest. also known as the Gobbo Doggo, goblin dog. It's more of a subspecies of this whole thing, and most of the time it's seen up in northern England around Yorkshire. And it was a omen of death at night. You did not see it during the day; it would come out at night. And it was also possibly a shapeshifter. It was possibly a agent of the devil, which makes the Barghest one of the first actual noted hellhounds. But the name Barghest kind of loosely translates to town ghost, so it's probably people were really shitty to one dog and its ghost came back and took revenge on the town because it's a ghost dog. Now, another very specific version of the Barghest was one called Old Shuck, which was seen mostly in eastern England. And the only thing that varies about Old Shuck from the general large black dog description is it had one eye. One very large red eye, and sometimes he could talk. And if he could talk, you're probably dealing with the story of Old Shuck where he was actually Satan as a dog. So, again, getting brought up. But then we kind of switch to a positive portrayal of these. There's the Grimm. Now, the Grimm are large black dogs that protect graveyards. They keep out vandals, stop other people from doing dangerous stuff or damaging. They will linger in a place that still has a unkept graveyard and will no longer be there once the graveyard is discovered and cleaned up and taken care of. In some aspects with this, they also function as a psychopomp, as they will lead the dead to heaven or drag them to hell. So another hellhound kind of reference. The reality behind Grimms is actually kind of sad. So, and it's not all over Europe, but in certain parts, there was a belief that the first thing buried in a newly consecrated cemetery was going to be its protector. So you don't want to waste a human soul because you don't want to keep Grandpa Joe from going to heaven. You know, you don't want him to be like, all right, kids, I've been here 500 years. I'm going to show you how to get to heaven. Ask God if he'll finally give me my Eucharist cookie. Or at least a juice pouch. Come on, I need a Capri Christ. Come on, get on up, get on up. Oh, God, they never give me anything. So what do? They bury a dog. Now, some say they buried the dog alive. That's more than likely not true because the Middle Ages are dark, but dogs were a valuable piece of working equipment. Hate to say it that way, but in some places, dogs are still a valuable piece of working equipment. Not just something that is sitting on my carpet looking at me demanding a belly scratch. But so they would bury them so that the dog would then become the guardian of the graveyard and take people to heaven. And so a human soul would not be trapped. And I would assume at least God would give, a little biscuit to the doggo because they're being the best boys or girls. But this has also been referenced in a lot more modern stuff. I believe Harry Potter makes a reference to a Grimm. They definitely make a reference to the black.
It does indeed.
There's a very large reference to black dogs with Sirius Black being one of the characters' names. Now,
Yep.
another reference here, and they're not necessarily the main ones, is Papa Legba's hounds. Now, Papa Legba is the Loa, and I've seen two different ways to spell this, L-O-A or L-W-A. But Papa Legba is the Loa of the crossroads. He is the intermediary. He is who you go to before you try to talk to the rest of them. And he has 1 to 2 large black dogs with him at all times. And they are his guardians and companions. So once more, we get a depiction of a large black dog being connected to a gateway to the spirit world and being a guardian of sorts. Now, another fun fact that goes back to the Hellhound with this is there's a very good chance that Papa Legba and his hound are the inspiration for all the people who say they went to the crossroad and the devil taught them to play the guitar real good. I won't lie, whenever I run Dresden or if I have Legba, uh, he has no end of amusement that people think he's Satan when he shows up. And that what people will give him for him to teach them like the most mundane shit that he knows. So there's those. So the big common factor with the gray, or with not the gray, but the black dogs is they're very large. They're very spooky. They're guardians between this and the next world. And don't fuck with them. Now, for my breakdown of this cryptid, I fully believe that this goes back to a ancestral fear of wolves. Because if you talk to anyone, most people, unlike me, are a little wary around dogs that are starting to get into the human size category. Me, the second they start getting over 80 pounds, I'm like, we're about to have fun because you and I can actually roughhouse and play. Anything below 80 pounds, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it. But like, you get me an actual Mastiff that wants to tackle and run and play and actually do tug and can actually tug back, I'm super down. But a lot of people do not like big dogs because big dogs are a creature, they don't know them. They could possibly hurt if they bite. So there is just that gut reaction, that instinctual fear that a lot of people have. Now, one thing I didn't write some notes on, but it's something I'd like us to kind of discuss, is they connect just a bit to another cryptid. And none of us selected this one. But when you were a little kid and you were riding along in the car at night, did you ever imagine there was something running between street lights or between the lights you would see? Like, you could almost swear that you saw something dashing in the shadows between the lights as you went.
Not
Yep.
necessarily, but
What
I
was it?
do recall a little.
Okay, sorry, y'all both said it at the same time. So, Spence?
I said, yeah, a little bit.
Okay, Nasa?
Yes, we did. I've also been black dogged while I was driving late at night before. So
Okay, so there are people who, and I didn't find a lot about this, but I thought it might be an interesting discussion point, is there are some people who think that thing that kids see dashing between the lights might be still a black dog. And that because kids see things, they can still see them, and that these things are around all the time. Now, I thought that was interesting. I still don't think that is 100% the case with it. Now, the two times I've seen a black dog, at my old house, there was a deck that is now Vincent's Playhouse here at the new house. But I used to sit at the deck and drink and have a fire going during winter. And there's one time I looked straight back to the street, and there was way too big to be a German Shepherd. And its eyes were way too reflective for normal. And I was like, huh. And then when I looked back, it was completely gone. Now, could that have been a neighborhood dog? 100%. But it was a little too big for my comfort for what I usually see in the neighborhood. The other time was at Gettysburg for the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg that we went to and played Union. Because if I'm going to do a Civil War reenactment, by God, I'll be on the winning team and the team that also didn't fight for human chattel. So, but while we were on the battlefield, I was looking out across it, and there was a rather large black dog moving across, stopped and looked back, and then it ran off. And based on distance in the road, it would have had its shoulders equal to the window of the cars on the road it was not too far away from. So those are the two that I've seen. And it would make sense to me, if everything about a black dog is actually real or true, that you would find it at Gettysburg or any other battlefield, because a site with that much death seems like it would draw a creature like that. But that's what I got about black dogs, y'all.
I mean, that And also that while that you were talking about it, it had got me to thinking about like popular media, especially like that the mid to late 80s to like that the mid OOs. You know, like all of these movies that they would always have like that the big black dogs be kind of like evil looking and stuff, you know, like Cujo, for example. You know, best believe that that dog could have
Literally
us.
Cujo. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, like Rockweilers and stuff. That's why whenever that I love Rockweilers. I mean, still do to this day. And then it's just basically that all of these black dog imagery, it just comes from just as that you stated. People always have this innate fear of dogs because then I just don't know what it is about dogs that are basically, you know, scary to people and stuff because that I know growing up that we had our urban legend about this neighborhood time that there was this long that there was like this long strip behind that the houses on up in just kind of like this somewhat makeshift alleyway. We had called it Dog Alley. And then it was always a dare for us kids to basically run down this, make it all the way, I would say about a quarter to about a half a mile strip of just, it's just a straight line. One time that there was this guy, for that the lack of a better name, let's just call him Juicy, that was his nickname because he was a big portly, that you know that he was a big, portly black. And then that hmm,
I was gonna say, was this around the time the PJs were on Fox?
I
Ju-
think so, but you
Or
know, just for that the lack of better terms, that his name is Juicy. So we were out playing basketball or whatever, and then that the ball went and that you know that the ball had like went down Dog Alley, and Juicy was like, "Man, what in the world y'all scared about?" So whenever that he had went there, we had all kind of followed, but we had all just started to hear just some growling, and then that all of us had like looked, and then we saw like these big eyes that we had just thought that it was somebody's dog that got loose, but that this thing was bigger than like that that this thing was about the size of Juicy, and we had never ever seen Juicy ran so fast that day. He was running like he was Usain Bolt that day.
now, I will say this.
Oh,
I will say
I feel like
this.
we're forgetting to
Oh, go ahead.
I feel like we're forgetting to mention the most important black dog of all black dogs, which is Hound of the Baskervilles.
that is true.
I left that one out mostly because I was forced to read.
How
Uh,
dare you?
because when you're a child and you're forced to read it repeatedly because you don't want to read it, but it's AR
Okay,
points.
fine.
Like it's
Fine.
also
Uh,
that one is so overplayed that I'm like, hey, if you Google Black Dog, guess what the first one is? Ha ha! Sherlock going after a haunting dog.
And then that before we get to NASA's cryptid of choice, that it had just got it that you know that it had just dawned on me that these black dogs can also have some form of electricity. So mild spoilers for that the video game Bloodborne for those who haven't played it. You actually fight a house size one of these that can basically shoot out electric at.
Don't forget occasionally that they will breathe fire if they're on the Hellhound variety. But I guess the last thing I'll say before with this is one of my favorite lines from the Dresden series is Harry and Michael, Knight of the Cross, running from somewhere, and Harry, oh shit, or oh fuck, hellhounds. Harry, I really don't like when you curse. Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry, man. Oh fuck, heckhounds. So I'm sorry. That's just one of the lines that always sticks out to me with that.
Alrighty then. Mesa, what is your crypt of
So, as Hewitt went the long way back option with his cryptid, I decided to go with a cryptid that is relatively new on the scene. Chupacabra, also known as goat sucker, only started becoming a thing in around 1995. In 1995 in Puerto Rico, there was an unexpected and rather overwhelming rash of animal killings, livestock killings. The rumors and supposed sightings ranged from mid-March 1995 until almost January, February of 96. Spanning some couple thousand animals all across Puerto Rico and the nearby islands. And never really came to any definitive conclusion about what Chupacabra in Puerto Rico in 95 and 96 actually supposedly looked like. The only documented and verifiable, quote, sighting was from a single woman named Madeline Tolentino. And her description of the thing was oddly similar to the main creature feature from a movie, Species, that had come out like a couple of years before. I gotta switch tabs real quick. Hang on a second. So the primary thing about Chupacabra is it's a vampiric type creature. A lot of the animal mutilations that are connected with Chupacabra legendarium is that the animals possess strange triangulated puncture wounds in their necks. That the animal bodies will be found missing only their blood and no other musculature or bones taken from the corpses. It's even been connected with cattle mutilations from the American Southwest, even as recently as 2007. The main thing about Chupacabra is there's not a single description of it. Everything from it looks like a mangy dog with a vampire bat face to it's a bipedal alien with those big black eyes and a row of spines on its back like porcupine quills that it uses to fly like a bumblebee. There is no real single trait linking them all together except the blood-drained animal corpses. And it's everything. It's not just goats. It's everything from chickens and turkeys and other small fowl to cattle and horses. And everything in between. Family pets as well. The main thing is with Chupacabra, it's very, very rare that you actually catch it. You're only ever catching the aftermath of it, or potentially hearing it, or even smelling it in some cases. A lot of the witness reports indicate things like the smell of sulfur, which for a lot of paranormal type inclined people generally refers to demonic influence, which is different and definitely not what you would expect from a vampire type creature. However, I did find one thing that hits a little closer to home, and that's actually the Grunch Road monster from down in New Orleans. Grunch Road is a little bit of a out-of-the-way lover's lane out in the boonies surrounding New Orleans. I didn't actually go and actually find the official location, but Grunch Road Monster is a really weird amalgamation of some Marie Laveau lore and something like the Jersey Devil or Rosemary's Baby. Supposedly, Marie Laveau was dealing with the Devil's Child, was trying to get rid of the Devil's Child, and a couple of drops of blood from the Devil's Child fell on the floor of her ritual space and became these ankle high, spiny backed vampire type monsters and attacked her and then made off with the Devil's Child, escaped out in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot of documentable, verifiable stuff about Grunch Road Monster, but it's one of those things that it's kind of like you hear about ghost lights on railroad tracks and things like that. Grunch Road Monster is kind of like that. You go out to this way back in the swamp, grass road, not an actual maintained street or thoroughfare anymore, and you might just see these little critters that are running around in the grass, trying to take a bite out of you. But it definitely falls under the concept of a chupacabra type monster because it is specifically listed as being vampiric and somewhere between canid and reptile in appearance. So, yeah, chupacabras. They're relatively new on the cryptid scene. There's not a lot of documentable stuff. There have been books written about them, even as quickly as this. But yeah, they're just kind of a really fun take on vampires and demons of the night, and super fun, super cool. I like them. That's all I got.
Interesting. I mean,
Vampire dog.
so that given to the concept of basically if that they were in a game, it kind of seemed like then that they would be basically mainly like used as like minions or at least a mid-tier boss level monster if could be. What are your thoughts
Oh,
about that?
definitely minion category. Nowhere near the top of the food chain.
Now, I will say this. I believe. Okay. If you play an old game called Shadow Hearts from the New World, it was the last Shadow Hearts. It did terrible. It caused the company that, like, the team that worked on it mostly make pachinko machines now. But one of the characters, and I can't remember his name, was this big, like, Native American warrior guy, and he did gun fu. So, but you would have to defeat certain spirit animals to fight to get his next ability. And a lot of times they were invisible, and Sasquatch and the Chupacabra were both invisible enemies you had to fight, which made it hard to actually hit them because let's see, that one used a different system to where you actually had to direct in combat instead of just do the ring and click, click, click. But the Chupacabra, yeah, was Invisibo, which I always thought was kind of cool. It's like, why does it keep getting away with this? Because you literally can't see it.
I mean, one thing I didn't mention is there have been a few supposed chupacabra like bodies or remains that have been delivered to various research agencies and scientific personnel to try to document some kind of evidence if chupacabra actually exists. A lot of the time, these remains are identified and documented as sarcoptic mange dogs, coy dogs, or even just coyotes. They're never really. So I mean, if you want to get on the conspiracy bandwagon and say it's a cover up, then it's a cover up, because sarcoptic mange makes the animals that have it look really otherworldly. It leaves them with very few patches of hair. They have scabs going on. It makes them look really unsettling. And a lot of time, animals with sarcoptic mange don't get a lot of food because they no longer have fur. They can't camouflage that well, and so they can't blend in when they're hunting. And so a lot of the time, they become really skeletal in appearance before they eventually waste away and die. And so it's it could be. I don't know. I have no personal experience with chupacabra. I just really like the concept. And it's new enough that it's not like we've got 200, 300 years of lore behind it or even more. It's literally the last 30 years. So I kind of want to see where it goes from here. I'm looking forward to it. It might be a new thing.
Now,
Maybe it is. We don't know.
Have you seen the like this video is from the late '90s, early 00s, but it was like the guy in the truck, it keeps getting. It was a guy on a farm that caught the mange-ridden coyote that he thought was the chupacabra on video. But I like how every so often it resurfaces.
Right.
Border Patrol found the chupacabra riding along. Trying to just like, no, dude, that's the same. It says like this was caught last week, dude. It still says 1999 in the bottom damn corner. What the?
Yeah, I did go and actually look up as many of the like evidence and footage pieces as I could find. A lot of them are either very blurry or are clearly visible as coyotes or canids of some sort. And like I said, the sarcoptic mange really, it was a bit of a pandemic back in the late 90s. There was, I mean, we had dogs that ended up with mange ourselves. It don't look pretty. It looks really fucking weird. And it's creepy as hell. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of a new cryptid showing up out of the blue and not being something that can be explained any other way. So that's why I chose chupacabra.
That's very interesting because I remember I basically like remember it up in passing, up in like like cartoons like Scooby Doo, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and then that they would just basically just be like the El Chupacabra, Chupacabra, and then it's like, oh, it just looks like it just looks like a more feral version of Ren from like Ren and Stimpy, but hairy and scary looking. But yeah.
I remember.
Oh yeah,
I remember in the '90s.
They funky. They funky.
I remember in the '90s that was always like that was the new one. So like that respawned like a lot of interest in cryptids. Now I will say this: that the thing I love is I think you can find most of them on YouTube now because history still posts them up sporadically. Is go back and watch the first season of Monster Quest because of how bad they are. But it's just always the chupacabra, and then this really bad 3D rendering of it. And it's like, I want to see the dude.
I remember that.
I want to see the dude who had like, because it was the same announcer for all of them. So it's like when it gets to the last one, Fart Leak Lick Creek Monster. Like still having to say it like as serious as Bigfoot, Yeti, zombies, ghosts, Thunderbirds, Fart Lick Creek Monster. Because like they'd gone through all the cryptids. It's like, and they get the guy, yeah, he was out there in Fart Lick Creek, named after what my cousin used to do on weekends. And it was a giant frog man that came out and started talking to us. We were high on shrooms. I mean, it's like half the time that was like the last season of the show. I'm sorry.
Oh, it is all good. Let's see. There's someone just up in that the chat has said, if I remember correctly, that there is a ghost type cryptid of New Mexico, and in it, I believe that they appear in an old style white, just tattered dress.
They say
can't
Oh,
remember the name of
La Llorona.
no. They're saying La Mala Ora.
La Mara Ora.
Not La Llorona, the lady who drowned her children. Now she's a ghost by the river. Which, by the way, Universal Fright Nights have a haunted house dedicated to her. And, like, it's really faithful to most of the stories until you walk in and she's now a giant eating children out of their beds.
Oh, that's Baba Yaga. Why are they mixing her up?
Oh, shit. I mean, no, it was, like, they basically rehashed old creepy GIFs on the internet with animatronics and actors to make it look like she's tearing out of walls, tearing out of ceilings, and eating children. I'm like, she doesn't do that. She drowns them.
Interesting.
Sadness.
Well, they
But
they did it
yeah,
because they needed the shock value. Because here's the thing: no matter how you break down La Llorona, it's sad. Everything
yeah,
about it is sad and terrible.
Yeah.
It's
oh yeah,
like I guess you want everybody to be super terrified and not like leave depressed.
right. Yeah, and then that. So basically, to instead of depression, let's just talk about that the loneliest cryptid there is, or could be. We are going to be talking about messing with Sasquatch, y'all. God, I'm sorry.
Hide and seek champion of the
That the
world.
so that that the social distance champion of the pandemic. I don't even think that he had caught COVID. But yeah, so if the y'all don't know, we are talking about Sasquatch or Bigfoot and his cousins, which then I will say basically Sasquatch more southern family for last. But anyway then, what in the world is Sasquatch slash Bigfoot? Well, Sasquatch can basically be described as basically a large, hairy humanoid creature of Western North American. That how does that just sound like that? That just describe most of America, but a Bigfoot anyway. So
Bigfoot, the real American.
just up in flannel, cutting down trees and stuff, buying brawny paper towels. But anyway, then that Bigfoot, commonly referred to as Sasquatch, is a purported ape-like said creature to inhabit forests of North America. Now, unlike the black dogs and then the chupacabra and any other cryptid, I don't believe Bigfoot has killed anyone up in my research. That they just basically put them anywhere between like that the mythologies of the indigenous people and basically a hoax. And then that he has just became a meme. That he was the original Harambe, if you excuse me. But
Oh,
anyway,
oh shit! Don't Spence, don't do that, man. Because I saw a movie.
Oh.
Sam Elliott.
Oh.
Sam Elliott goes out to kill Bigfoot. There's a movie called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot. Do not say Bigfoot is Harambe. I don't need like a super disease coming about because we killed another majestic ape man. Okay, everything was
oh
fine.
no,
Everything was fine until they killed Harambe, dude, and then shit went south. So
that
don't.
this sound like the plot of a sci-fi movie that it is going to be like Bigfoot had enough of you damn people. That I'm about to make y'all disappear. But anyway,
The horror movie would be called The Squatchin'.
the squatching in a world where anyway. So basically Bigfoot is up in like limbo in a sense because scientists are like, yeah, that he doesn't exist. He doesn't exist. That all it is just a hoax. Whereas that that the internet and cryptologists are like, man, Bigfoot exists, man. But actually, that historically in early records say that Bigfoot is something of that the indigenous people folklore and stuff, where it is basically that some of the early sightings of them was up in the 1970s in that the Dalles, Oregon, where then that they where somebody had found a police report stating that it was an overgrown ape, and one of the men had basically sighted this creature in the scope of his rifle, but he couldn't bring himself to shoot it because it looked more human than animal. So so it's just basically that doing just further research. I mean that it is basically say that the indigenous people of that the Tule River Indian Reservation in central California petroglyphs were created by the tribe of, please forgive me for the pronunciation, that the Yokuts of basically at a site called the Painted Rock, which that that where that they had depicted a group of Bigfoot called the Family. Now you can insert your Vin Diesel jokes here now, or elsewhere, or else rest your case.
Family, family, family.
It is all about family. But yeah, so it is basically then that they had estimated that the age of these hairy men to be between 500 and then 1,000 years old. So shit, Bigfoot can live like dragons pretty much. Good God, screw dragons. Make a Bigfoot be that your all knowing figure of your world. But let's see here.
Look
But
in.
yeah, then go on.
I was going to say, look into a
Bigfoot
character.
is God.
Go look into a character by the name of Strength of River in His Shoulders, also known as River Shoulders. He
Mm.
mentions, as a young lad, I walked across the land bridge following your people.
But yeah, I mean that basically that then that they always then that that another indigenous tribe called the Tisales basically say that the Sasquatch is a shape shifting creature that can protect the forest and basically it says something here about that the Iroquois tale of like an aggressive hair covered giant with just hard rock skin, and basically that it is more commonly known as the Genosakawa,
Or the
which is
Janasqua.
Janasqua. Yeah, thank you. And in 1847, Paul Kane reported stories by the natives about Skookums, a race of wild cannibalistic men living on the peak of Mount St. owned at the Mount of St. Helens in just Washington. So basically that the origins of this creature has basically came from that the north western part of that the US, and then that it also has something to do some akin to just basically some German ancestry too, apparently, as well. So where did the name Bigfoot come from? Well, in 1958, Jerry Crew, a logging company bulldozer operated in the Humboldt County, California, discovered a set of 16 inches, 410 millimeters for just our friends across the pond of human like footprints sunk deep into the mud in the Six Rivers National Forest. That his co-workers came to be similar that upon just basically informing his co-workers about it, that they basically claimed to seeing similar tracks on previous job sites indicating such odd incidents as an oil drum weighing 450 pounds 200 kg it just was moved without explanation, and so that the logging company had just decided to name it Bigfoot, and that the name had just stuck because of his size 16 foot. So other than like I can just go on and on about the sightings and such, but just like ultimately that all of my research had basically led to believe that, basically that Bigfoot is just seen as just a wild man that's always just around in the forest. However, that there is basically one just instance that had been like that has been like debunked about like that a man had basically supposedly killed killed a Bigfoot in Fresno, California, in just 1859. After that, after that the Bigfoot was basically allegedly hunting sheep. I guess that he liked the lamb for his diet. I mean that's what he is, but But okay, so anyway, then a little bit more about their behavior. So so basically, that Bigfoot apparently just basically likes to be a troll in a sense. You know, that the internet troll in a sense by just basically like throwing just rocks to basically show its territorial displays and for communication, or else just start just punching trees like Minecraft to basically communicate. But skeptics argue that these could be hoaxes. Additionally, structures of broken and twisted foliage, seemingly placed in areas that basically indicate some Bigfoot behavior. And those also included entire deer skeletons being suspended high in trees. And most of the alleged sightings of Bigfoot has basically been during the nighttime. However, that these experts find such behavior untenable for a supposed ape or human-like creature known as apes. Apes, including humans, that they are basically diurnal. All right, so let's basically get up into the cousins of basically Sasquatch and Bigfoot. We basically have the folk monster, the Honey Island swamp monster, Momo the monster, skunk ape, and we have the Yeti. Let's go ahead and then knock out the Yeti. That the Yeti, aka the abominable snowman, you know, located up in the Himalayan mountains, and honestly, that that the Yeti is basically described as like a guardian of like the Himalayan tribes because that they consider the Yeti a divine being. So that could be good for like you paladin players out there. You basically have a Yeti as your deity, and it's really and truly not much basically said that other than that the Yeti is basically a guardian of these mountains in a sense. So let's get to the more interesting ones that are closer to home. You know, like that the Honey Island swamp monster. Now, according to the legend, a terrifying monster lurks deep in the untamed wilds of Louisiana's Honey Island swamp, less than an hour from New Orleans. That the creature is standing over 7 foot tall and weighing anywhere between 400 and 500 pounds. And apparently that it has yellow eyes that seem reptilian, and then that it is known to emit a stench of death. That this primal creature has been blamed for the deaths of livestock, and that the mysterious disappearances of children in the area. Ugh. So
Spence,
basically,
That's just a
huh?
rougarou. That all that is a rougarou. That is a rougarou. That is do not slander Bigfoot with rougarou.
I'm not slandering. That this is what the article said, and then that apparently that this is his cousin. That this is a cousin to Bigfoot, his southern cousin. But that the only sighting of basically that this Honey Island swamp monster was in 1974 by two Louisiana hunters, Harlan Ford and Ray Mills. The two men have claimed to found a four-toed footprint left by the beast next to the carcass of a slaughtered wild boar. After discovering the footprint, Ford had returned to the swamp with a video camera in hand. His grainy film captures a shadowy figure that appears to be a hairy beast walking upright and weaving quickly in and out of trees in the dense swamp. Okay, interesting. So now we go to Momo the monster that basically can live up in either Louisiana or else Missouri. That the nickname Momo is short for Missouri Monster, and it is reported to have a pumpkin-shaped head with a furry body and hair that is covered that is covering the eye. And then again, that first reported in the 1970s by Joan Mills and Mary Ryan, Momo has been spotted up and down the Mississippi River. So again, that this 7 foot tall creature basically that eats dogs and then emits a terrible odor. So some may have suggested that it may have been a rogue black bear at the time. So ultimately, then that these sightings were basically deemed to be a hoax, hoax up in 1972. To that they were basically whenever that the tracks were found by this Lawrence Curtis, who was the director of the Oklahoma City Zoo and Botanical Garden, he had deemed them to be a hoax. So one more, which will be the folk monster, also known as the Southern that the Southern Sasquatch. Try to say that 5 times fast. Which is actually located in Folk, Arkansas. And local legends of an
Falk.
ape-like Falk. Sorry, Falk, Arkansas.
It's all right.
See,
I gotta represent my people.
look, I'm sorry. My brain just went that we got the fox monster from, or we got the sex squash from Fox, Arkansas.
Yeah, no.
Nah.
Falk, as in
Yeah, no, that doesn't help,
Falk.
Nessa. It's a falk monster.
I'm sorry.
It's
Shut
a
up.
Falk monster, y'all. But that this thing looks weird. That this CGI illustration just looks terrible. Ugh. But anyway, then that local legends of an ape-like creature date back to 1946, when it was called the Jonesville monster, based on the town where it was initially sighted. Cited again up in the mid 1960s, that the creature didn't make local headlines until, again, what the hell was up with 1971? That all of these creatures were sighted in this
The
year.
shrooms. It was the shrooms.
And then it has said to have attacked the home of Bobby and Elizabeth Ford. And that the incident had inspired the 1973 film called The Legend of Boggy Creek, which in turn inspired additional sightings up through the late 1990s. The Southern Sasquatch is described as a giant human ape-like creature with long arms, long dark hair, 3 toes on each foot, bright red eyes the size of silver dollars, and it is said to walk with a shuffling gait and run in a hunched or slouched position while swinging its arms like a primate. And that this one is actually the lightest one. It is as tall as 7 feet again, but it only weighs just up to 300 pounds. And then it has a chest about 3 foot wide. So basically, from what I have researched, basically that they said that all Bigfoot, it is basically you are on the side of the fence that Bigfoot is real, Bigfoot is fake. Scientists had deemed it as a hoax, but all of the cryptologists that they just want to keep this legend going because let's just get up into this. Let's just make this an open discussion about the pop culture of Bigfoot. I mean that that we have seen that the commercial for the Chromebook where like apparently that Bigfoot has access to the internet, probably a better internet than ours here that we use. And then it's just basically it's like he is on the stock market because Bigfoot is very memeable. What do you guys think?
I want to buy a T-shirt that says "Gas Squatch." Oh, you want to know what? You want to know why all these cryptids were showing up in '71?
Why?
Disney World opened.
Interesting.
They were trying to get to Disney World.
Okay. I just thought it was the shrooms.
No, that would have been the '60s.
I mean,
like they weren't still doing it in the 70s.
No, they had moved on.
Right.
They had moved on to cocaine, and I don't want to think about Bigfoot on cocaine personally.
I mean that you know that up in like that the Wikipedia article that I am reading and stuff, it seems like that he was basically that the most popular cryptid because everybody wants to know what in the world is this thing is, like. But I found this very hilarious, and then I quote: "Laws and ordinances exist regarding harming or killing a Bigfoot, specifically in the state of Washington. In 1969, in Skamania County, a law was passed making killing a Bigfoot punishable by a felony conviction, resulting in a monetary fine up to $10,000 or 5 years of just jail time."
Not gonna lie, I'm down with that. I also think I think there's ordinances.
Amen.
I think there's ordinances on the reses out that way too that you're not supposed to shoot a Sasquatch.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
now I will say this: you didn't mention like the most famous video of Sasquatch that's been proven to be a fake, and then proven to be real, then proven to be fake, and then proven to be real, and then proven to be fake. The one where Sasquatch moves like from the left corner to the right.
Oh, that video. Yeah. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, they pretty much debunked it that it was a dude in a gorilla suit, but uh, I don't know. It's just I always like Bigfoot is just believable enough. I think like it's kind of like if you take
Well,
if you take the supernatural element out of the black dogs, like if you go with like the big black cats of England, like that's a cryptid. That there is a large predatory cat somewhere on England that like sporadically gets seen. Those are believable enough because they're a creature that seems mostly familiar to us and is like 100% flesh and blood. Like everybody kind of likes ghosts because they're creepy and scary and stuff, right? But
Yeah.
like if we found Bigfoot, like if we found remains of a Bigfoot, this is physically a new creature we've never seen before. Or we've never been able to fully identify. I mean, gorillas were that way until the 1800s. But I think Bigfoot holds just enough of a possibility that people really dig Bigfoot, but also I think every human on this planet slightly wants there to be another intelligent species, a cousin, if you wish, that could possibly communicate and actually develop society. I think a lot of people kind of wish for that to kind of be true
well,
as well.
the other thing that has always struck me about the Bigfoot mythos is that it's not just a North American thing. The concept of hairy bipedal giant folk exists in every continent, in every culture, and a lot of indigenous cultures, more than just the Pacific Northwest and the Southwest
Mm-hmm.
Native American cultures. So many cultures across the nation, across the world, have these stories or even legends and histories of other people, cousins or neighboring tribes that eventually recede from more active engagement because of the way that we as humankinds were developing. A lot of these, a lot of the stuff that I've read up on has said that some of these cultures believe them to be an elder race of sorts, kind of like you said, with maybe they're guardians of the forest kind of thing, kind of a fae type, or even a precursor race or a progenitor race to our own, even so far as aliens. They the Yeti concept, the Yeti as a spiritually divine being, is the closest modern interpretation that we have to a lot of the indigenous precursor material. But it's super interesting and always has been to me that it spans the globe. It's not just relegated to one culture or subculture or one area. It spans the globe. So Bigfoot totally exists and is totally still alive and well today. And there are probably millions of them out there that just either they have technology or magic that they don't interact with us and they can hide their presence. And it's super cool.
Or both. I mean that
Go ahead,
he
Spence. Sorry.
did get that he basically did get that Chromebook deal. So we don't know if that the Google van called him and then that he basically made a deal with Google to be in this commercial.
I think Bigfoot already got the iPhone 22.
But yeah, I mean that, as far as in like that, using, like all three of these cryptids for like games and stuff. I mean, like, especially with us being fans of Monster of the Week, like that, it doesn't even have to be like a, hunters have to eliminate the threat type of hunt deal. That a Bigfoot could have lost its child or something, and basically that we have to protect it from, basically, I don't know, some craze, people that Dr. Vaughn or whoever up in our own universe had basically hired to basically put this on display or something. That the black dog could be something as easy as like that the dog alley legend I've said. That the chupacabra, easy. Just make it just be Taco Bell and there we go. Or Taco Bandito. I don't know.
Oh
Oh God,
no.
just the worst Chihuahua ever. Yo quiero
Your
sanguine.
your three-headed Chihuahua Cerberus is a chupacabra. It's canon now.
I mean that. I mean that the.
It's Tres Chupacabra.
Oh God. But
Chupa
anyway, that.
Tres Cabra.
But yeah, I mean that. With Bigfoot, I see it possibly, as I had just mentioned up in Twitch chat, like Furbolg essentially are Bigfoot.
Yeah, they can go invisible.
I mean, you can't argue that, because then that they have the same natures and stuff, with just that their lore, as far as in that they are kind of like this society that is kind of like off to themselves, that they have that innate shape shifting ability for them to go travel places, so that they just don't got the fake connect. Well, that they may. It just depends.
Like, not gonna
I
lie,
dig it.
90% of Fae could technically, or 90% of cryptids could technically be Fae. Like,
Oh,
even the newer ones that were born from the internet could technically be Fae. But I am shying away from Mr. Long Arms in a suit and Mr. Very Loud Head.
no, that all of that the internet stuff like that, like long arms in a suit, that the back room nonsense. No, I'm not delving into that.
I know,
That we've already got enough stuff to deal with.
not gonna lie, back rooms would not be a
One
bad
of these
subject.
days we're gonna have to do. One of these days we're gonna have to do SCP Foundation.
We'll get Bosch in on that one, but I will say this: the back rooms, whoever threw that out there and created that was genius, because every last one of us have been in a very busy event, taken a wrong turn, and ended up in an area that was very empty after being in such an area full of energy and life, and it felt weird and wrong, so you back away quickly.
I mean that, or else that you just get lost up in a Kmart or something, and it's just like, especially, like children are always getting lost and stuff. And plus that I had saw this documentary about like the in and out of Disney World, that the area to where that the workers go through, like that their Mario pipes and stuff, that is some back room material. Like, it is not all happy go lucky. It is dark, creepy.
They
It
got
just looks like every generic horror movie hallway
to
with
be
the same white brick, the piping, all of that.
Yeah, to be fair though, that is the only place you'll find a Subway in Disney World. They have an employee Subway down there in the subtubes.
Oh, interesting.
It's true. My girlfriend worked at Disneyland. It's true.
Yeah, so So then those are just the three cryptics that we had chose, but then that y'all can that that dear viewers, if that you can that do some more research up into any of these ideas that we have presented with y'all deeper, that you can use them for your games and stuff. That is why that we are starting to do these that's why we are starting to do these investigation checks, so that way that we can go deeper up into the lore and history of stuff and basically try to like inspire y'all to basically be like, oh, I never thought about that. I can use Bigfoot as basically my next NPC or something. I don't know. But, anyway, then and then I'm about to turn it over to basically Miro so he can give us about the rundown. So basically what that we have coming up.
All right. First thing I'll mention, and we forgot to at the very top of everything, we still have the St. Jude charity going on. We're currently at 85 out of $500. All proceeds will go to St. Jude's to help end or fight childhood cancer. And if you do it while we're playing Curse of Strahd on Thursdays, random crap can happen
Yeah.
to us during the game. Let's see. Speaking of which, I've already mentioned that Thursday we will have Curse of Strahd. Monday we'll be back with the second round of the Quiet Year in Holy Winds, and next weekend will be another episode of Toolkits. I don't know if I'm doing leather working or if I'm going to still be working on terrain and carving it and cutting it just so I can do something neat or different with it. I might, if I do that, I might go and get some Halloween decorations to make a spoopy castle.
Yeah, then I may actually be joining you on that one because then I got a lot of prompts getting stuff. So then I may
I
be
may
doing
I
some
may show up
painting.
at your house. I may show up at your house, Spencer, and we'll craft together.
Okay, that'll work.
Cool. That sounded
All right
ominous at
then.
first. Let's see. Also, first weekend in November, we will have our huge Extra Life 3-day gaming event with all proceeds
Mm-hmm.
going to Batson's Children's Hospital. So that's what we
Mm-hmm.
got going on. Socials, if you go to Linktree, Facebook, YouTube, or here on Twitch, we are Team Bonus Action. If you go to Twitter, we are at bonus_team.
Nice, nice. And then and also that if that you see the Hydra, it is us. And well, then that since the Nox isn't here,
Don't
don't
let your meat. Oh
let
God, we were
your
off.
meat. Good.
I'm not even gonna try it because you know that I'm gonna be lagging. I'm not even gonna try. Don't let your meat.
Don't let your meatloaf, guys. We will see y'all in the next one. Thank you. Comment, like, subscribe. See y'all in the next one. Goodbye.